Hi, I'm going to be doing the butterfly design. I'd already filmed it, but then for some reason there was no audio, so I've left this side on. I'm just going to do this side. This is what it looks like. Um, First, we get a sponge. I'm going to spray it with some water. I'm going to be loading it with pink and purple. So we'll be using this palette on the day. We've got the pink here and flip it around, do the other side with the purple. Fully loaded. So I'm going to start with purple in the inner eye. The hardest thing about this design is getting the shape right. So I've found you want to go big. So you want to go from the inner eye to the highest point of the forehead. So if I hold a finger here, it just helps me stay in that line. Just blend the purple up. Then when I get to about halfway, I'm going to swap to the pink and go the rest of that way with the pink and then just fill in the outer edge. So this outer edge shape isn't too important with the sponge because we're going to be going in with the brush and tidying it up. So if you just kind of work from the inner eye up to the corner of the highest point of the forehead and then kind of just bring it down, I suppose, to the outer eyebrow and then to the outer corner of the eye. So I'm just going to dab in that pink a little darker. The quality of my laptop video isn't that great, so this is actually a lot more vibrant in person. But I'll show you photos as well. Okay, so then we're going to do the bottom of the eye. Again, I'm going in with the purple. I like the bottom wing to be a lot smaller than the big wing, so it's just as small as you can make it. And so the eye there with the purple, and then going in with the pink to that outer edge, and just fan it out a little bit. And again, you don't need to be too precise with the shape because we're going to be going in with the brush at the end. So that base looks pretty good. This is when you would go in and spray it with some glitter. The paint is still wet, so the glitter will stick really nicely to that wet paint. Then we're going to get a flat brush. This one's one of the skinnier ones out of the two. There's another one that's a little bit wider than this, but for this design, this skinnier one is my preference. So on the day, we're going to have this palette with some split cakes. I'm using this top red one for this butterfly design. So we're just going to spray the split cake with water. Spray. I also usually dip my brush into some clean water as well, or you can just spray the brush. Get that a little wet as well. You definitely want the consistency of this paint to be a little bit wet. If it's too dry, it doesn't come out very nice and it doesn't glide smoothly. So you want it to be quite wet, but if it's too wet, obviously it's going to bleed into like all the wrinkles and creases of the skin. So we're going from the highest point up here and dragging it down. I'm really just trying to use the darker color on the brush, so I'm not laying the whole brush flat. I'm really just using that darker edge to bring it down to kind of around the eyebrow. Try to make it thinner. It's a bit harder for me to do this on myself than it is on another person. So I'm going to try and match these up. I've done one, two, three kind of cascading slightly inwards, and then for these last two, I came out a little bit and then worked back in again. So I'm going to try and do the same here. So in, then kind of start that here and bring that in again. So that's my third one. Now I'm going to come out just slightly in and there we go. Just finish that off. I'm going to wet my brush again, wet the paint again, reload this brush for the bottom wing. So you want the outer corner of the eye to kind of be around the middle of the brush. And I'm just going to loop that in, and then another loop, and one more loop, just to kind of finish that off. That I'm not quite happy with how that's come out. And that's because I've gotten too much of that lighter color on that line. So I'm just going to go back in and just use that outer edge for the line. So that's basically it. For the body of the butterfly, we're just going to use the darker color at the top and kind of create like a triangle shape and then a skinnier one here. Okay, and then you can use either color, the light color or the dark color for the antennas, and just kind of push it in and do two kind of lines. I like to make the top of the line a little bit. Oh my goodness, I am terrible at painting on myself. I'm just going to clean that up. You ideally want it to be thicker at the top and then thinner at the bottom. That'll do for now. You kind of get the idea. On this side, I also outlined with white. So that's just getting one of these brushes, loading it up with some white. You want it to be quite, the consistency of the paint to be quite thin. Just kind of brush any hair back. And then you're just gonna go around the edges. You don't have to do this if you're running low on time. If you've got a long line, this is a step that you can skip for sure. But if there's no one waiting and you've got a bit of extra time, you can just outline and just gives it a bit more of a pop. And you can do the same coming down here. A little nervous to do this on myself. And then the antennas, the same thing. And just do okay, and the other thing I'd done on the side was the dots. So same thing, same brush, white paint. You can make it a little thicker for the dots because you kind of want it to glob up. And you just put a bit more pressure on for the bigger dots and then slowly make them smaller by reducing the pressure. That line's a little wonky. And then on this side, we're just doing three. 1, 2, 3. So that's it. That's our butterfly design. We've used 2 brushes and the split cake mostly. And then our base color purple and pink. And then if you want, you can use the white to do the highlight. And that's it.